And I've worked for the state navigation for the past 20 years, so right now I do earn a good salary because of the fact that I've been in it for 20 years. And I've worked my way up the ladder. This would be, a pay increase for me. But for the people who know that I'm very generous with both my time and my money. And one of the things I mentioned that I do is I run the Dorchester Day Senior Luncheon. And one of the things that I'm committed to do, if I do in this office, on my own time, I will run senior lunches throughout the county just to get the seniors together, because I enjoy seeing the seniors all having a good time.
So, I like to say I identify with people locally. I grew up here. My father was an oil delivery man. I helped him deliver those cans, 5 gallons of kerosene up 3 flights of stairs. He was a nice man before that. My mother, she was a dietary worker at the Faulkner Hospital. I got married at 19, went to night school at Northeastern, got my degree in business management. Still married over 40 years with my lovely wife over here. We have 4 great kids, 10 great grandchildren. When I first got married, I had to get a job. I drove a bread truck. I worked hard. I was up at 4 in the morning, got done at 6 at night. So I do identify with people with lower incomes. Thank you.
I think that the people should vote for me because I am one of them. Having come from here, being a teenage mom, and being able to still complete undergrad and law school, I can relate to wanting to. I can relate to, and I joke about this with my friends all the time, when I was a mom of 3, saying if I only made $14 an hour, and how life would be different. And that was some years ago, and right now, $14 an hour is not going to get you anything in this community. Right? So what do we need to do in the Register of Deeds office? There's a lot we can do as an attorney, as a real estate broker, as someone who cares about this community, who serves on a board committee. We can do things to bring people in. We had elected officials and those running to be elected officials here earlier today. We can create programs to let people know that there's something outside of this neighborhood. There is more, and even if someone is telling you that this is all that you are worth, that you can be more than that. So having myself in the office, I would commit to continuing to work with youth in our community to make sure that they understand that they are able and can achieve higher things than the $15 an hour that people are trying to give to us right now.
That was a great question. I'm glad we're getting questions like this. The difference in the questions here are amazing. Anyways, I fought for the $15 minimum wage. I'm on the steering committee of the Jamaican Plan Progressives. That's absolutely an initiative that we will fight for and continue to fight for. And paid family medical leave and paid leave for family members. Also, I believe that privilege should be inclusive. It doesn't have to be exclusive to certain communities. My dad grew up on food stamps and he ended up becoming a doctor. But when he became a doctor, he didn't want to work in private practice. He worked for the Veterans Administration. And that's, the kind of people I was raised by, which is don't take anything for granted. Treat every single person with respect because you're not better than anyone else. And make sure that you don't do anything halfway. And that's exactly how I would approach the Register of Deeds office. Is it salary high? Yeah, I have a job. I work at Todd & Weld. It's one of the best law firms in this city, and I'm not looking to have a job. I'm looking to do a job. I want to work for the people of Suffolk County. And, this community is struggling. It's pretty bad in some places here. And it shouldn't be that way. When Jamaica Plain borders this area and the incomes there are, the average income is well over $80,000 there, what's happening right across Washington Street that makes it so much different? That's correct. It is systemic, and there's a lot going on that really needs to be addressed. The Register of Deeds, can I address it? No, but I can make sure that people in Roxbury can own their home because there's programs out there that can help you do that so you can stay in this community and make it better.
I have a couple of different thoughts. This would definitely be a pay increase for me. I can tell you that. As a real estate agent, made about enough money for other things, and over the last 10 years at least, I've been writing a lot online. You can find a lot of it through my website. I read a lot about city issues, a lot about gentrification and BRA and the mayor, or used to be the other mayor, now I read about this mayor. But I would also point out, I guess, that progressive is not a party. At least it isn't to me. I know that a lot of people are Democrats and they believe that Democrats only are people to be trusted. I've always voted Democrat. But my point being, $15 an hour. But what I'm getting at is, if you look at our state, a lot of the things that we should have gotten done a long time ago, we never got done. And that's because some of the people at the State House are not really like Democrats. They're, conservative Democrats. But when it came to $15 an hour, when it came to the trans bill, when it came to universal health care, when it came to marriage equality, right here, we should have been first in the country, and we were not, except for marriage equality, of course. But the point being that I feel like my personality is such that I do relate to people who were in my community and communities, and that I've always written from that point of view. So it's certainly something that I think people can see in me if they do some research. Thank you.
I know what it's like to struggle. I grew up in Colony Point Project. We tore the place down so everybody would forget about it. 10 Lero, 164 Monticello. I had the orange block cheese, the 5-pound on my table, peanut butter out of the can. And I remember those days. I didn't arrive here in my position without people helping out, rolling up your sleeves, working hard. And that's what I'm going to do when I go to the registered deeds. I'm going to come to your neighborhood meetings and visit with you and see what's going on. I bet you the registered deed after you collect, you've never seen them again. They close that door and they come out when they retire. That's not going to happen with me. I've worked too hard in the city of Boston helping people enhance the quality of life to go off into another position and not continue that lifestyle that I know how to do. And that's why I'm running for the registry. I don't care about the money. My house will be paid off in 3 years. I don't need it.
My name is Margarita Champicoin. I'm also running for the registry. Speak into the mic. My name is Margarita Champicoin. I'm also running for the registry of deeds. I believe the question was at $50 an hour, why?
People make $50 an hour in Washington. Elect you for 6-figure salary and try to raise $50 an hour. Why should they elect you?
I do agree that for that position, I do agree that it's a high salary, $125,000. It's certainly not what I make. I would love to have that as my income. But I also know that in that position, there are a number of assistant registrars who make either close to that or sometimes more than that. They're appointed by the Secretary of State. There are certain positions at the Registry of Deeds that can be done on a part-time basis by students, by folks at the next level position. Maybe start at $15 an hour, $17 an hour to place in a row. That's where I see that. I'm also born and raised in Dorchester. I'm a Dorchester kid. I grew up in Dorchester. No one can hear me. My kids are
Okay. And also, please, can we hear Marguerite? We're hearing a lot of chatter.
Okay. So do you want me to start again?
Pick up where you left.
Okay, so I'm going to pick up where I left off. The Registry of Deeds employs a number of assistant registrars. I believe just the way the work flows, there's plenty of opportunity for part-time work, for students, for entry-level positions in there, where people can start in a form of government and grow with those jobs. I also think that in this community, I grew up in Fields Corner, so right down the street, guys. I know I'm a product of Emerson Parents. I'm Boston born and raised. I've seen it. I grew up in a neighborhood, being the only intact family on the street. So I know what a difference a living wage makes. But again, I think in this particular forum, what the Registry of Deeds can do is open itself up to more opportunity for folks to work there.
Margaret, stay right there.
Yeah.
We're doing a final question.
Sure.
You did not have a chance to introduce yourself, so I want to do that. And
answer this question is, when you go out, how do you see the job benefiting the public good? So I'll start by introducing myself. I believe I am uniquely qualified for the position. I have over 25 years of experience in title and land records. I started out as a real estate paralegal doing residential closings. From there, I developed into a commercial real estate paralegal. I worked for a large downtown, actually it's a national firm, and I did commercial. And from there, I work now for a title insurance company that's based out of Portland, Oregon. So in all those roles, my experience level increased. I do a lot of data. I know how land records impact commerce. If you can't sell, you can't buy. And if you can't buy, then the Register of Deeds, I view it as certainly an administrative function, but it's crucial in that if land records aren't secure, accessible, it puts things to a halt. We all saw that in 2010 with the foreclosure crisis. And I don't know if people want to expand on that or not, but why I'm running for the position, I think I'm experienced. I know I have, again, unique qualifications. I think that the Registry of Deeds does some things really well, but I also think that there's plenty of room for improvement. I look to myself as someone who is well-versed in the function and the operation of the Registry of Deeds, not only in Massachusetts, but in other counties, so I can compare what happens nationally. And I just think that I'm the person for the job, and that's what I do. Thank you very much.
I believe I should be the next Registry of Deeds. This is my third time trying to get this job. Third time. Third time to get a job. You always been going back and back on Thursday, September 8th. After that, weekend that we're all going to be out celebrating, having a good time. I'm going to sneak back in the neighborhoods on Monday, Tuesday maybe, and we'll say, oh, we're going to let you come in on Thursdays. And that was going to mean I need you to be back in Macon. I have a paralegal degree. I've spent over 20 plus years in city government, helping build teams, make a place better. And I'm going to do the same for the Registry of Deeds. I'm going to go with the institutional knowledge they have there, use that, learn what they do, improve, and we're going to have a great registry. And I'll be back to see us before I get needed to re-elect me again.
Could I just ask Megan, the question, is it what we think, or did you think aloud on?
Oh, no, I'm saying as you're closing, answer those questions, just wrap it up and then answer how you see the benefiting the public good.
Sure. Well, I think in this community, and one of this Boston's communities, that we do have a lot of people who got into politics because they actually wanted to do a good job. And it's easy to be cynical, I guess, with the national situation and even in other races where that's not always true. So I guess what I want to accomplish is being a proud, I'd like to be a proud gay HIV positive man who owns this position for 6 years. And let me say, can I say that again? Because I said I own it and I don't want to say I owned it. But as a gay HIV positive man who does a good job in this position, gives back to his community, is proud to have lived here for going on 30 years, and can at some point be considered somebody similar to the other good people that we've elected in their office. It's just Suffolk County Register of Deeds, but I do believe visibility is important, and I think that would benefit our communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
In closing, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I want to thank Rox Rose for hosting this forum. It's been really awesome. So earlier I talked about my dad. He died when I was 12 years old. And if we didn't have a house that my mom could borrow off, my brothers and I wouldn't have been able to go to college. So your home is important to you. It is your biggest asset unless you're a millionaire 18 times over. So that's why this office is important. My husband is a veteran, and the only reason he joined the military is because his house was in foreclosure, and he wanted the bonus money to pay the bank, even though he lost his house. So people are getting scammed. They continue to get scammed, and it's not right. And if you had a consumer advocate in the Registry of Deeds, so people can really work with their communities and then buy their home and stay in those communities, I think that's exactly what we need. And I really ask for your vote on Thursday, September 8th.
Thank you again for moderating, and thank you, Bospoli, for hosting this important event and inviting us to come. I know it's not the sexiest topic to talk about the Register of Deeds position, but it is an important position in our neighborhoods, and I really believe that having forums like this does give you an opportunity to learn more about what the office should be doing versus what it's currently doing now. I believe that this office is a place where you go to acquire your wealth. You go and you sign up, you get your home. It should also be the place you return back to get information on how to preserve that wealth. And that's what I plan to do in that office. I really want to make sure that there are people who are facing foreclosure or are elders caring for someone, that there is some place that they can go to, and we can coordinate those services across the board between state and local services. So again, I'm asking for your vote on September 8th. It is a Thursday, and know that it's not a normal day, but please mark it on your calendar that day.
Well, thank you for having me. Done those years of college, big about my public statement, I guess going on. I'm 27 years in the real estate book. I've gone to many registries, their systems. I do a lot of online research. Suffolk County, Norfolk, Middlesex, Plymouth, and I want to bring that history and research to the registry. There's 33 employees. I want to learn all their jobs. I try to improve on things and go from there. Thank you.
I too want to thank the Rocks folks for inviting all of us here, and thank you all for turning out. This is the largest forum we've had thus far, by far, so I really appreciate your attention and attendance tonight. As Katie said, nobody's noticed for the past 8 months there was no Register of Deeds. That's because essentially the office runs by itself. In my opinion, the office needs some innovation and modernization, and that's what I intend to bring to the office. As I mentioned before, an online map with links to the assessing records, the deed records, the building permit records, all public property records, all in a one-stop shop. There's also something that would help to protect this community and other communities that the Registry of Deeds should be doing, which the Worcester Register of Deeds does right now, and that's called the Consumer Notification Service. And that is where you can put in your name, your address, and an email. And should your name or address ever cross the desk of the Registry of Deeds, you will get an email notifying you of what's going on. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for holding this forum and creating access to the information, Megan. It is somebody that we look to for information about what's going on in our communities. And Rock's vote is important because you let everybody in our neighborhoods know the critical nature of getting out to vote and exercising our rights. The Registry of Deeds is where your property rights are protected or taken away. One of the things that I would do immediately when I get elected to the Registry of Deeds office is I would meet with the registrars across the state of Massachusetts, they're 21, and work to standardize the system online. There are different systems being used in different jurisdictions, and I think it would be helpful for everybody to have the same system and the reliability of that system and the security of one system that we can all access. Second, what the Register of Deeds can also do is get a truck out to communities that need help. So mobile Registry of Deeds like the city of Boston does. I met with some senior citizens out in Winthrop who were standing in line and they were missing documents and have to go drives and need help getting there. So I would work on those issues, and I thank you for your vote, or thank you for your having this forum. Thank you for having me, and I hope I can count on your vote on September 8th.
I want to thank at this point all the candidates for the Register of Deeds, and thank you all for coming and sharing your views. We really appreciate it. And thank you. Will the candidate for sheriff please come to the stage, Suffolk Sheriff?
Thank you for being so patient.
Great job, guys.
All right. I'm going to ask candidates, just going to ask everyone to please be quiet. Thank you for your participation. Current Sheriff Stephen Tompkins of Suffolk County. I'm going to ask for you to take a couple of minutes and introduce yourself to the audience, please. Please stand at the X.
Thank you. Thank you first for Transport for coordinating this event tonight. And thank you for the whole wonderful community here that come in tonight and taking the time from the busy life and being here to hear about the candidates. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Alex Roalimi. I'm from Revere. I am a first-generation Moroccan American. That's why you're going to hear these wonderful accents. So I have a multi-language skill. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a leader. I founded a company. I'm the CEO and a founder of a company for 17 years. I earned a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in criminal justice from BU, Boston University. I also get certified in law enforcement, crime scene investigations, legal studies, and court process. And I am humbled to be on a primary for the Democratic primary on Thursday, September 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Good evening. Good evening. Come on now, Candy, I know it's a long day. Good evening. Good evening. That's what I'm talking about. First and foremost, I want to thank Rocks Vote for bringing us all together. This is very important. I want to thank our moderator for being here and taking the time to ask these very important questions. My name is Steve Tompkins. I've been at the department since 2002. I came in 2002 as the Director of Communications. After about 2 or 3 years working as the Marketing Director and Director of Public Affairs at the Emmett Community Health Center. I came in 2002 as the Director of Communications. 2005, I was promoted to the Chief of External Affairs, which means everything outside of the department fell under my purview, but also included the Communications Department. In 2013, when my predecessor, Andrew Cabral, was tapped by the governor to go to work in his cabinet, I moved up to sheriff. Now, here's the situation when you talk about what does the sheriff do? In the olden days, the sheriffs were just the jailers. People would come to jail, do their time, and go home, hopefully not to return. Today, it's much more important. In the Commonwealth, sheriffs are not the police, although we have policing powers. So we work under kind of a more of a social work lens, and that allows us to work with the folk that are incarcerated to help them improve their station in life. And I'm sure as we go along, we'll explain how we do that. But that's a very important job for several reasons. First, because it costs $50,000 to incarcerate one individual annually. I have over 1,000 inmates on a daily basis. Second, 65% of my population is Black or brown. I have a deep affinity to that group. Now, I want to make sure that all people get out. Low income, moderate income, people of color. But when you talk about America being the leader of the free world, how do we do that when this country incarcerates more of its citizens than any major industrial nation on the planet? And then if you drill down, we also incarcerate more of our Black and brown citizens. That doesn't work, you see. So I'll close by saying this. Our mandate is care, custody, and control. And when I stand in front of people, I pull out the word custody. And I tell you, I say, look, if you look up the word custody in the dictionary, it's got two meanings. And the first is imprisonment. And clearly there are bad actors that do need to pay their debt to society and go away for a while. But the second meaning, and the one that really resonates with my administration, is guardianship. I'll tell you, told us stop.
Yes.
Right.
Thank
I
you,
got
Sheriff.
I was just getting.
We want to ask you some questions. You can stay there. Stay there. Sheriff Tompkins, voters will also decide on another ballot question come November on whether to legalize recreational marijuana in Massachusetts. Boston City Council President Michelle Wu supports legalization and said the laws currently in place are especially punitive to minorities. Councilor Teo Jackson said it would give opportunities to people of color. On the other hand, the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police and the Massachusetts Sheriff's Association, the state's district attorneys, have all come out against marijuana legislation. On this issue, you have said you would rather err on the side of caution on marijuana policy. Do you see the merits in Councilors Wu and Jackson's arguments, and why are you such a staunch opponent of the legislation? And Mr. Polini, when you get a turn, where do you stand on this issue?
All right, thank you for that question. Just as background, I am the president of the Massachusetts Sheriff's Association, and we did take a vote to stand in opposition to the legalization of recreational marijuana for this reason. In our facilities, we see too many folk that are suffering from some form of drug abuse. 70% of my population is there because of some involvement with drugs. Actually, 50% is there because of some involvement with drugs. Another 20% because they've done something to feed their illness. 42% of our population suffers from mental illness, from the most passive to the most aggressive. And so we stand in opposition to recreational marijuana because we have a ton of kids in the Commonwealth. We have college kids, we have younger kids. Now, the ingredient in marijuana that really allows you to get high is called THC. The THC levels can be manipulated. And once they start putting them into brownies and gummy bears and candy, kids get a hold of this, college students get a hold of this, and things can get out of control. So we stand in opposition to recreational marijuana, not marijuana for medicinal purposes.
Thank you. So the first question was to introduce yourself. Thank you. I agree with the mayor and the governor when they opposed the legalization for the marijuana. As you know, as a sheriff, you would be the CEO for a law enforcement agency, and we should oppose for legalization for marijuana because it leads to other things, as you know, as we have right now issues of opioid addictions and mental health. So this is a big issue. So they start with using marijuana, and then if there is no enforcement, so that leads for other things, and other things leads to, like I said, drug addictions and opioid. So we want to make sure that we have a policy that enforce these laws. But the other hand, as you know, the criminalization of marijuana will actually lower also the incarceration rates at Suffolk County Jail or other county jails. So so they look at it, so the people that they have licensed now or whatever to use it for medical field, I'm okay with that. So definitely this is what decrease actually the incarceration rate, and that's why actually I stand. Decreasing incarceration and more actually funded for treatment. Thank you.
The next question is for Sheriff Johnson. You said that roughly 70% of your population at the House of Correction are involved in illegal drugs, and I think you said in the past that 42% suffer from some sort of mental illness. Since you've been sheriff, what have you done in your administration to stem the flow of illegal drugs in your facility or drug use in your facility, and how have you been able to help folks with mental illness?
So drugs getting into incarceration facilities is not something that's specific to the Commonwealth. It's a problem across the nation. People out there that want to get drugs in are very creative. They find all manner of ways to get drugs into our facilities. To stem that tide, though, when you come in to visit, we have dogs that sniff out drugs. We have a very diligent program for our officers to make sure that they can identify when drugs are getting in. We do a fantastic job with shutting that down. But do they get in? Yes, they do get in. So to that end, what we have to do, and not only just for people that are bringing drugs into the facility, but those that arrive on my doorsteps that are already suffering from this illness, we have a full-blown infirmary that has both a full-blown detoxification unit and a mental health unit. In the fall, we're going to start a program called the OASIS program, where we're talking to the DAs now, we're talking to the courts, and what we're saying to them is, folks that are low-level, non-violent offenders that are suffering from this illness, We want them to come in, if they have to be remanded to our custody, come into the OASIS program, which is going to be a 45-day detoxification program. And this way, we help get them clean and sober, and then when they leave, we hand them off to social service agencies that can also have that continuum of care. And that's really important. I want to say that again, that continuum of care is very important, because if we get them clean and sober, but there's no one on the outside to help them, then they're just going to recidivate. They're going to fall back into drug usage. And so we think that that's a very important thing, that we have the services for them to take care of that. We're not built to be the de facto detoxification or mental health facilities, but because of the scarcity of beds in both of those areas, if a guy or lady does something wrong, they're sent to our care.
Well, I'm not sure here. My opinion on this fact, I've been campaigning since March, and I've been different neighborhoods, and I've seen many people actually fall into this. That 45 days or 28 to 45 days, it's not enough. Even if we continue so there is policies, okay, we can continue rehab, but there is not enough funding. Future sheriff will be standing at the State House, making sure we work closely with State Senator and the House, making sure that it is enough funding. We have to have enough funding to continue these rehabs. And that's how actually we can have these people recover. So definitely we need more social workers, more follow-up, more people to go and help these people so they don't fall back. Because it's very hard, as you know, some people they get into a detox and then they go back again. So, and the same thing, they get again, they offend again, pretty much. So they get to drugs and they commit crime actually to go get drugs. And that's how they get incarcerated again. So inside the jail, I want to make sure that we have enough practitioners. So I want to increase actually enough practitioners, less incarceration, more treatment programs for these inmates, making sure that when they come out, they stay out of the jail. Thank you.
You can stay right there. I have a question for you. The sheriff has been in his position for some time. Why do you think you're qualified to be sheriff, and why should the voters not keep Sheriff Tompkins in the position?
Great question. Like I said earlier, I have 17 years of leadership and management and supervisory position. I built this company from scratch. I built it from nothing, and I still have that company. So I do have very good management skills that will oversee budget, which is over $103 million budget. So we need to have making sure we have hands-on on that budget, making sure we assign some of that budget to treatment, like my platforms, less incarceration, more treatment, and more treatment. And also I have qualification experience in the criminal justice field. I have a bachelor's, like I said, a master's degree in criminal justice. I wrote many research papers regarding incarceration and why actually the US is actually superseding more other countries in terms of incarceration. I'm very passionate about this office, and I'm going to work hard to making sure that these people, when they come out, they don't come back again. Thank you.
Sheriff, in addressing a similar question, why do you want to keep doing this job? Why should they re-elect you?
Well, they should be elected because I know what I'm doing. And what I mean by that is this. I've been on the job for a long time. It's great to have certificates and documentation from schools to say that you've taken classes in this. We have jurisdiction over human beings' lives. That's a very serious thing. And so something that you learn in the textbook is not what's going to happen in reality. As I said, I've been there for 15 years, but more importantly, I grew up in Harlem, in the projects, single-parent household. My mother suffered from alcohol abuse. I could very easily be upstairs, but I'm downstairs. And so I understand. I haven't walked in the shoes of my inmates, but I understand the fight that they're going through. And when you talk about going to stand at the State House to get more money for the budget, well, that's not realistic. That's not going to happen. 70% of our budget goes to CBA or collective bargaining. And so you have to find alternative ways to raise funds. And what we've done is we do a number of grants. We do a lot of granting opportunities. We have several partnerships, but we also started a 501c3 that allows us to go after additional pools of money so that we can do. Now, let me say this. When you write a grant as a state organization, we're from 10 to 40% of that money, despite the fact that they didn't write one word on the grant. Through the 501c3, I get money 100%. And so in these ways, we have to be creative. This is not your grandfather's correctional institution. Things that they used to do back in the 20th century, you can't do in the 21st century. And so when you say, why should the voters put me back in office? And I didn't mean to be flippant when I said because I know the job. I say that because I have the experience, I have the relationships, and I know how to get this job done.
Mike, I have another question for you. Let's talk about ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Some have called on you to end your contract with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to detain immigrants. Currently, Suffolk is jailing them not for crimes, but for civil immigration violations. In some cases, non-criminals have been jailed for years. Sheriff, if reelected, will you continue this contract? Yes or no, and then explain. And I just want to hear from you about your perspective on this as well.
So I'm not in favor of the sweeps that they used to do to pick up people and then have them deported. If you have some criminals that need to go back to their homeland, then they should. But this just summarily picking up people and locking them up is not something that I am in favor of. We do have a cooperative relationship with the federal government. We have cooperative relationships with state and local agencies. And so to that end, we do have contracts. But I'm seriously looking at that because I'm not, in my mind, satisfied that the right thing is happening with these folks that are being deported back. And so I need a little more information on that, a little more data on that, but I am open to it.
You're open to
discontinuing the contract. Yeah, I am open to it. Now, I say that with the caveat because there are a lot of things that come hand in hand. We all work together. So I'm not just going to cut something off just because I dislike it. I'm going to discontinue it if I get the information that really says that this is not a fruitful, productive way to handle people that have gotten themselves in trouble or people that haven't gotten themselves in trouble, but they find themselves in an incarceration facility.
So I am against violent criminals, like immigrant criminals, that they either join in gangs and they're immigrants. So, but I oppose against just picking up any minor crime immigrant and just detaining them. So if I get elected to sheriff, I would definitely discontinue it.
You will discontinue.
Definitely. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Can you explain why?
Well, it's more about constitutional laws. So there's a lot of constitutional laws behind it, and a lot of actually a rule of law will explain why they cannot just pick up someone and just because he looks immigrant, so we're gonna pick him up, detain him.
So you disagree with the law itself?
No, I don't disagree with the law. I said that we apply the law. Just we have to apply the Constitution. We cannot just pick up people, normal people from minor crime just because we get a question of they're immigrants. Okay, we're gonna detain them. So that's the reason why I'm gonna discontinue.
Yeah, while you have the mic, can I get you to, on another question, and weigh in on what you think about the rollout of the city police body camera initiative? How do you think the mayor and the commissioner went about it? And what's your take on this show?
I think for body cameras, I mean, if some police officers they doing the right thing, I think it's protecting their rights also. And I'm all for transparency. So this is going to make everything transparent. So if somebody just gets said, oh, this law enforcement officer just violated my rights or my constitutional right, that this would be on camera. It's out there. So I'm all for it.
Okay, and Chair?
So, yes, I'm for body cameras. I think that the police should utilize body cameras. I was on a security junket to Israel in the end of January. And that was the first time that I had actually seen police with what they call long guns or rifles. I'm more in favor of community policing than a military form of policing. So I'm not in favor of the police having long guns, but I am in favor of the police having the armor that they're asking for. It's dangerous out there in those streets. And bad guys are throwing bad things at our law enforcement, the people that are safeguarding our security. And they need to safeguard their bodies because they need to get back home to their kids and their families. So yes, armor, yes, long guns, no, body cameras, yes.
Body cameras, yes. And you thought the city did it the right way by requiring?
Well, the city, the voluntary approach that they took, if you're going to do it, you know. And so, look, particularly when you talk about CBA or collective bargaining, if I were the mayor, and I know the mayor, and I'm not trying to walk in his shoes or tell him how to do his job, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to make it happen, you know. And if I'm going to talk about the fact that it needs to get done, if you give folks an option to opt out, sometimes they will, and these folks did, and so now the mayor has to go back and make it mandatory. Also, just having 100 individuals do it is a little bit baffling also. So I probably wouldn't have done it that way. I probably would have said, if we're going to do body cameras, everybody get a camera on his phone.
Can you name, you're very active in addressing criminal justice reform. What are your 3 key initiatives that you want to share with voters who are here tonight?
Well, first and foremost, I want to start with our youth. Okay, I mean, we really have to look at how we get our kids to understand that going to jail is not an acceptable thing. Now, you know, you got black is the new orange or orange is the new turquoise. I don't know what that show is, but you have lockup. You have these shows that glorify going to jail. There's nothing glorious about going to jail. And so in 2005, I began a program called the Choice Program, where I sent officers into the schools because I wanted the kids to have an experience with an adult in a uniform when they were not in trouble. And so we talk about bullying, we talk about internet safety, but when we got there, a lot of the schools had eliminated civics. And so we asked the education department if we could institute a civics program, because we wanted kids to understand how community and government works together. We wanted kids to understand the power of the vote. Now civics, they began to get rid of civics, I don't know, 2-3 decades ago. And so you have mothers and fathers that don't have a full understanding of how government and community works together. So it's no surprise that their kids don't. And so when people say my vote doesn't count, it's not necessarily because they're being ignorant, it's because they don't know. And so that's one of the programs. The other program is this. I believe you all heard of the school to prison pipeline, right? What we need to do is replace that with the cradle to career pipeline. We need to look at ways where we get kids either the educational, academic programs they need or vocational programs. I'm big on vocational programs, you see. Thank you very much. I'm big on vocational programs. I think that those 2 programs are things that are really significant. You know, one quick one in the last 10 seconds that I have, we're bringing the community health centers inside the facility to match them up with the inmate population 3 to 6 months before the inmates transition out, so that when they leave, they have a healthcare practitioner that they know. What we found is when you leave, when a guy or lady leaves, left to their own volition, they won't necessarily go to get the medical help they need, but if they have a relationship with a doc, it's much easier for them to go and get the help they need.
But they do come back. A lot of them do come back to
46% come back.
Yeah. So have you started any of these initiatives, and what impact have they made in reducing that and reducing that?
Well, it's not so much what I've done to reduce that. It's actually what the court system is doing to reduce that. There are specialty courts. There's mental health courts now. There's gun courts. There's drug courts. There's a whole panoply of court systems, courts that are now looking at whether or not these folks need to go to jail or should they be put in a diversionary program. So we work in that, and I go back to how we have to work in tandem with other agencies. You know, this goes back to what I was saying about textbook versus reality. And the reality of the situation is that we have to do this coupled with other agencies. The Sheriff's Department is not just going to quell recidivism. That's got to be a continuum that takes all of us, the whole entire world.
Well, the recidivism rate right now is nearly 50%, which is high. So it is like a kind of puzzle. So in order to reduce recidivism, we have to employ a good re-entry programs. So these re-entry programs, making sure that these people, they don't come back again. So we have to start with job skills, knowledge, making sure that we have trades, so these people, they find jobs when they come out, so they can actually do better for themselves and for their families. As sheriff, I will establish, actually, because I have a business background, I will establish relationship with organizations, with big corporations, and I'll start actually with corporations right now that they're dealing with Suffolk County Sheriff in terms of food services, locksmith, clothing. Those corporations, we want to make sure that they participate in the rehab and re-entry programs. I want to make sure they hire some of these inmates. Because if we don't give them chances and give them jobs and make sure that we support them with housing, guess what? They come back. It's a rebound. They come out, they come back. And then that costs our taxpayers money, actually over $50,000 to incarcerate, rather than spending less money on education, prevention, intervention. So my job as sheriff, actually, I would spend more time on preventing intervening crime before these people, they come in. So youth at risk, yes.
And one plan, what are the other two?
Well, the other two will be making sure we work with the youth at risk. So I'll be closely working with law enforcement agencies. We'll work closely with civic organizations like Oprah and Chelsea. That's a program that's been successful. It's like a diversion program. So instead of putting these kids actually in criminal justice courts, we make sure that we help them out, making sure that they get trained, job trained, and make sure they stay away from the criminal justice field. And that's the reason why actually we can have good use in the recidivism rate right now into Suffolk County. And I will do my best to making sure that I'll reduce it less than that 50% that we have right now, nearly 50%.
Yes.
Thank you.
And this concludes your section. Do you want to do a closeout?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I want to thank Rox both for tonight, and I want to thank the audience for coming here and joining us and taking the time. And I mean, electing a candidate, this is not a popularity contest. This is not who gets the most endorsement. This is about the person that's standing in front of you, making sure that has integrity, transparency, and can do the job well and stay connected with the community. That's why I'm going to ask for your vote on Thursday, September 8th, and I hope I can earn it. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
So I want to thank Alex for just describing me, because I do have integrity, I have transparency, and I am doing the job well. So when you talk about why would you want to replace someone who's already doing that, it's a little bit baffling to me. Insofar as our reentry programs, we have over 80 programs. We have a very robust reentry program. It's highly important that we get these guys and these ladies back home with their kids. One of the worst things that you could ever see is when a child comes to Suffolk County Sheriff's Department to see dad in a jumpsuit living in a 6x9 box. Let me close by saying this. The American dream, which is built on the ideals of equality and opportunity, is not afforded to the people that are with me. It's not afforded to a lot of low-income and moderate-income people. And unfortunately, some of these folks will wind up in an incarceration facility. Some will wind up in a detox facility. Some will wind up in a mental health facility. I go back to talking about the fact that if America is the biggest, baddest dog on the block, we really have to be accountable to that. The hallmark of any vibrant community is how we wrap our arms around the most compromised members in that community. And at the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department, it is folks that are suffering from substance abuse, mental illness, and in a lot of cases, a deficit in their education acumen. And so I'm asking for your vote to send me back to the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department to continue the work that I've been doing for the past 15 years. Thank you so very much for coming here.
Thank you both for being here. Thank you to all the candidates that that came and spoke tonight. We have some extra time in the program, and we have a couple people who came late, and another candidate in the 11th district. Charles Clemens, do you want to address the crowd? Have an opportunity for you to speak, and then after that, we'll have
Peace and blessings. How's everyone? 2 minutes. That's all I need is 2 minutes. Peace and blessings. My name is Brother Charles Clemens Muhammad, and thank you for coming out this evening to this fantastic event. I want to remind you that community forums involving state candidates are vital to the political process of electing candidates. Rock's Vote is a nonpartisan group whose mission is to provide a platform to inform and empower voters in the Roxbury area. For those who don't know, the 11th Suffolk District covers parts of Roxbury, starting at Wambach Street, moving up into beautiful uptown Grove Hall, to Columbia Road, down American Legion Highway, back up Walk Hill, Forest Hills, Rosendale Square, Eggleston Square, which includes Seaver Street. I want you to check out this person who is your current state representative for the 11th Suffolk District, Elizabeth Malia, M-L-I-A. Please Google the name and look at who she is. She's been the state representative for 18 years covering our community. And this year you have a choice. You can either go with the same 18 years or you can have a choice. And I'm running for state representative because it's time for us to have an equal playing field in beautiful uptown Grove Hall, Eggleston Square, Jamaica Plain, not the the income that's $23,000 a year in beautiful uptown Grove Hall, $25,000 a year in Eggleston Square, and then in a part of Jamaica Plain over $100,000. As your state representative, I will make sure resources are distributed equally in our community. And as a former Boston police officer who walked the beat in beautiful uptown Grove Hall, Roxbury, Jamaica Plain, and Rosendale to serve and protect, I will continue to take that love and that passion that I have for all of my community and go to the State House and make sure we get the resources that we deserve finally in the 11th Suffolk District. Thank you very much. My name is Charles Clemens Muhammad, your next state representative for the 11th Suffolk District. Please come out and vote on Thursday, September the 8th. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Roy Owens, and I'm running for state senator for the 2nd Suffolk District. I'm a graduate from UMass. Also work as a computer operator and also work for the Department of Corrections. And I found out a lot of inequity in terms of people being incarcerated and being able to get out. So I wanted to do some community work. And so I went and moved to the Department of Social Services and worked there. And I found out that people who make the rules was either state reps, state senator, or the governor. So in order to make that fair, we are totally in terms of the 2nd Suffolk inequity programs that are being done in the African American community. We don't have a voice really at the City Hall. We don't really have a voice at the State House. As you know, the way the breakdown in terms of hiring, I think it's 60% automatically for Caucasian. I think it's 25% for people of color and 15% for women. And we look at the fire department, the police department, how 60% of the people who got hired was Caucasian, and under 15% all was Caucasian. And then we turn around and we've been watching the banner, under the 25%, they got all Caucasian. And we don't have anyone speaking out against that. And we're like almost like unemployment around 20% for the African American community. We don't have a voice, neither in the City Hall or the state. In terms of what is happening, I've been fighting against, I'm going to say this, I've been fighting against them right now. We have housing and taxes that's out of control. The value of houses 2 years ago in Roxbury, property value was about $100,000. Now it's over $500,000. Why? Because our city councils got together and voted to have liquor license. Up and down New York, 25 new liquor licenses a year. And that only applies to Roxbury. It doesn't apply to any other area. And because of that, people are coming in to buy the land. They're offering them $3,000 liquor license worth over $500,000 in Roxbury. It's not offered any other place in the city. As a result, the property value has tripled and gone out of sight. The property values and the taxes. And we need a force, and we don't have it. Thank you.
Thanks again to everybody who came out. Thank you for all being here, and this concludes our program.
If all the candidates could come to the front, we're going to do a quick group photo. All the candidates that are running for office, thank you so much, and thank you for coming out tonight. It's a great event. Please come to the front for a quick group photo, and we'll get you all home.